You're watching WHPS, Highland Park, Detroit.
WGPR Detroit, HD2.
The views and opinions expressed on the following show are not necessarily the views and opinions of WHPS, its affiliates, management, or sponsors.
My name is Watson.
And my name is Mariah.
We're 12 years old.
And we're representing Old Redford Academy Middle School.
And we're here to talk about drugs.
Drugs are very dangerous and unhealthy.
And they can also ruin a relationship with your loved ones. Go talk to a family member, a friend, even a teacher, or you can go to a therapist, or if you need any extra help, you can go online and find all of those.
Hashtag not worth it.
Good day, good people. I am Heather Heteru, your personal change coach, here on our weekly show, Expose Under the Sun, brought to you by Detroit Native Sun News. And if you are looking for ways to advertise what you are doing in your community or products or services that you offer, don't forget to reach out to Detroit Native Sun News. And you can reach out to Valerie at 313-457-5944. Again, that's Valerie, Detroit Native Sun News at 313-457-5944. So I wanted to make sure I got that out ahead of time so that you're ready and prepared that the things that you see happening in the community, or if you want to advertise something that you're doing, that you have a vehicle to do that in addition to WHPR here. All right, so again, I am Heather Heteru, your personal change coach, with our special show today, Expose Under the Sun. And when we come together every other week, in between the weeks, you'll meet with our co-host, Darwin Griffin, who will share more about what's happening in the community and kind of taking a deeper look with individuals who are making that difference. And today I look at a different perspective. We look at community wellness. And so it's really important for us to have new and great ways to be able to express our wellness, and in the times that we're in, to be able to find it in a way that helps us to find peace and release stress. So, as I always start off our show, two things we talk about. We talk about the first, that this year, 2022, is a manifesting year. What that means for you and for me is that we talk about and we speak to the things that we want, not what we don't want. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is that we have to find ways to find our joy, because the opposite of joy is stress or distress. And so we're going to talk a little bit more to our special guest today. Her name is Sheila Bingham. She's going to talk to us about her line of products called Sensory Soothers, and the different things and the different ways that we can express our wellness through energetic healing and energetic wellness. So she has a wealth of information. So I brought her in today to have that conversation. But before we begin, I know you're anxious to hear, but before we begin, we're going to talk about the joy, right? I always offer to you some of the things that I use to find my joy. And actually, on the table with us today is one of the ways that I find my joy, which is a color bath, which is amazing, and also some of the bath salts that she offers, which is another amazing tool to help you to be able to relax. Just find your peace, unwind, and feel good. And which is a big part of finding your joy, is having something that makes you feel good. So some of the things that I use to find my joy, which, you know, I've used this one, shared this one with you before, but it's just especially important to me today because as I walked into the studio, on the desk next to the sign-in sheet were those melt in your mouth mints, right? I believe they're called the cardinal mints as well. but because cardinals are one of my favorite birds, whenever I see it, it helps me to express and find my joy. I hear the cardinal, I see the cardinal, which are the bright red birds that they typically live in pairs and couples, and you'll see them around holidays, but you also see them in the beautiful state of Michigan more and more every day, especially when you open your awareness to them. So one of the ways that I find my joy is through bird watching, which is my favorite bird is the cardinal. And so that's just one of the tips I wanted to share with you today. It's just an easy thing you can do from your window, you can do it from your porch, you can do it from any space, but Michigan has the most beautiful and some rare birds as well. So it's a hobby for many, but it's something that you can get into to help you find and experience your joy. So, to our guest today, welcome, Sheila.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you.
So glad to have you here. And I know I'm so excited to hear about some of the products that you have to show us today. And but I want to ask you the question that we ask all of our guests is share with us some ways that you find your joy and or relieve stress.
I tend to be still a lot.
Okay.
I love peace and I love quiet. I love to be alone.
Okay.
I love to listen to meditative music, being creative, reading, and writing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's important. We all have to find those ways that we can find that inner peace because it's so much going on around us every day that sometimes we can lose sight of really sometimes what's important for the distress of the stress that we may be under. Right. So thank you. So I'm so excited to have you with us again. I want to ask you a couple of questions about just some insights into what you think people can use for tools. So we're talking a little bit about alternative medicines today and some of the ways that we can express wellness, right, and some of the things that we can do about it. So can you share with, I know you have a extensive background in health and wellness, especially a health food store that you and part of your family had a hand in our community. So can you share with us a little bit about some of the tools or resources that are out there and available that people may not know about?
Well, there are actually many. But what I brought today, just to narrow the field, as you said before, are bath salts that I make. And I use the essential oils, incorporate essential oils with them. And the essential oils that I use are actually, they share the same vibration as the color of the bath salts.
Okay.
And so that's very important. And we have to understand when it comes to color, it's extremely healing. The two most abundant colors on the planet, as you know, are green and blue.
Okay.
And there are reasons for that. The green corresponds with our heart chakra. And our heart chakra is literally like a pivotal point in the body, and such that the lower chakras that are represented by these first three colors here are the lower half of the body. And then again, beginning with the green, that there creates a pivotal point almost exactly like this. And what it does is it separates again what's called the lower half of us and what's considered the higher or more spiritual aspect of us. And our body reacts to colors pretty much like photosynthesis is to plants.
Wow.
And so the different chakras are actually energy centers in the body that correspond with colors, which create relaxation and healing within us on a mental, spiritual, and physical aspect. And so I have a chart here that kind of helps you to understand a little bit more, hopefully. And let's see if I can get the colors here. Down here is actually the root chakra, which corresponds with the red. And that is actually considered to be heating. It helps with cellular growth, corresponds with circulatory system, cold, sluggishness, paralysis, and many others. And then I'll just point here, maybe that's a little bit better. And then the orange chakra is considered our sacral or spleen, and that affects inflammation of gallbladder, menstrual cramps, and many, many other things. The yellow is the solar plexus, which is about right in here, the yellow color.
So that's like their stomach, just in their
Right,
stomach area.
right,
Mhm.
the general stomach area. And that stimulates the nervous system and intellect, and it has an alkalizing effect and strengthens the nerves, and again, with many other things. So that's just a general idea of what some of the colors can assist with. So when I also use the Dead Sea salts, which are actually 10 times more nutrient dense than regular sea salt. So that's very important in the bath. And our body actually responds to that, and it helps to purge and cleanse and detox, again, which can be very soothing. And then when you add the color, it intensifies the energy of the vibration of the entire bath itself. So that's very important. And then another thing that I do is these items here are considered Bach flower essences. And those are actually 38 individual flowers that you can use, again, for distressing, PTSD, grief, anxiety, and a multitude of other things that we may deal with. So they're very, very helpful in regards to stress. And what I tend to do with these is I make personalized mixtures for people.
Okay.
So there's a questionnaire that you can use and online, and it's bachflowers.com, and it will give you a series of questions or scenarios that you can identify with, and then you can basically mark that particular flower or make note of that, and then when you are done with the questionnaire, you just inform me on those flowers that you feel are correspond to your needs. And then I will actually take each one of those individual flowers and make a specialized remedy for you. So again, they're very, very helpful. I've used them myself, but they're just wonderful, wonderful to have. Music, as we said before, especially classical music, is extremely helpful. And all of the colors actually correspond with a particular musical note as well. And then when it comes to our foods, we are actually supposed to consume each day one color of each one of these colors that you see here. So, for example,
in a fruit or vegetable?
right, in a fruit or vegetable, exactly, exactly. And so it's the same premise for those. So if you can't get to particular fruits or vegetables or things like that, again, that's where these items here can actually assist with that, the nutritional value, actually.
Wow, that's amazing. And
very,
so,
very important.
for people who are flower lovers, who grow their own fruits and vegetables and plants like that, the energy of even just interacting and harvesting those things would actually also, because of the colors that they represent, can also be healing.
Oh, yes.
The,
Oh,
the
yes.
actual fruit or the actual vegetable, the one that stands out in my mind most is carrots, because and you get close to carrots with your clothes, they can stain too, fresh carrots.
Exactly.
The juice can. So I mean, just thinking about that, how vibrant the color is, and how healing. We know that some of the orange and the carrot is from beta carotene, right?
Exactly.
And how
Exactly.
healing a property that is, and incorporating. That's one of the vegetables that I incorporate in my family. So we use broccoli and carrots. That's actually my son's his favorite. So
Mine too.
yeah, so just to get him to eat it, he's. But I hadn't thought about before really incorporating one of each of the colors, though.
We're supposed to.
Right.
Ideally,
right.
we should. Ideally, we should. So again, strawberries, carrots, as you
Bananas?
said, broccoli, bananas.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Squash.
Oh, of course.
It comes in
so
green and yellow. Okay.
Every food has its particular color on purpose. It's very purposeful. So when you talk about the creator knew exactly what to do. But again, it's just about increasing our awareness as far as which ones we should be consuming. And so it just creates more balance in the body. And again, the more ways that we can incorporate those frequencies, because that's really what it's about, is the actual frequency of vibration, whether it comes from music or, again, the colors, because, again, they all in their own way coordinate and correspond with each other, and the body knows how to naturally identify with each one of those.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I mean, that's just that one fact alone can really change the dynamic of even how you eat. You know, just how you eat. You know, and I'm gonna just say that I'm sure the red doesn't necessarily represent ketchup like on French fries.
Well, actually, it's red, and it ironically enough, it still has its benefits, but it's like with anything else, it's just consuming it in balance.
Right.
And
Like
there's
with the French fries.
there now typically the most common would be the 7 main chakras, but I also have salts and liquid baths to represent 2 more. And even though the original 7 are very, very important, for some reason the thymus gland, the turquoise color, represents the thymus gland. And that is extremely, extremely important. And it's one of those things that you don't ever hear much about for some reason. When people are ill with HIV and AIDS or certain disorders, sometimes you'll hear the doctors mention something about their T count. Again, this is something that's really never talked about. The T count represents the thymus gland.
Wow, that's the T.
Right.
Wow, okay.
Right. And then sometimes they'll say something about a B count, which represents what's called the bursa, but that's something different. And I've got some information here, if you don't mind me reading this very quickly, because I think this is absolutely crucial to know. The thymus gland is located behind the breastbone. This gland is next to the master gland, the most important gland in the body. The lower part of the thymus sac touches the upper part of the sac in which the heart pulsates, and the thymus influences the sensitivity of the heart. Wow. The thymus gland is the seat of the ethical and moral understanding of a person. When we become mean, this gland stops working, and doubt, fear, unethical behavior, and despair set in. The thymus contributes to inner faith, love, strength, and it enriches our lives. Sodium fluoride, which is what they put in our water, toothpaste, all of those things, cause the thymus to malfunction. And this adds to the destruction of the inner values such as faith, respect, free will, and hope. The thymus gland has its ganglia at the back of the neck, and from there extends to the brain along the 5th and 6th nerves connecting the eyes, ears, nose, and heart. The thymus gland excretes special hormones from which all glands benefit. A child is born with a healthy, functioning thymus gland, and it is happy, trusting, hopeful, and loving. The thymus and the heart work together, but as a person gets older, if nothing is done to keep the thymus gland working, it barely makes the necessary hormones and secretions, and the thymus gland shrinks and rigidity sets in. In the spiritual realm, this makes rigid dogma, lack of confidence in the goodness of our Creator, and a lack of confidence in ourselves. If the thymus gland functions normally, there is no such thing as lack of courage, dissatisfaction, or fault finding. And then there's an exercise that is suggested to help stimulate or keep the thymus gland stimulated. And what is suggested is that you basically very lightly beat the breastbone a few times, and you roll your head back and forth like that. And then also thyme, 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 some people pronounce it thyme, which is a spice, and that's also recommended.
Wow, that's a great connection. Okay.
And the botanical term for thyme happens to be Thymus vulgaris.
Wow. Right up under your nose and not even know.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And it states that thyme tea is also highly recommended, and to also please stay away from waters and items containing sodium fluoride, because again, it has a direct controversial vibration for the health of the thymus gland. So I just thought that was extremely important because, again, we hear about all of these other glands, but very, very few people have ever been aware or heard of the thymus gland. So, again, I have a salt for that and actually a bath for that because especially with the days and times that we're in, that is very important to know. And even with your children, because they're young and the thymus gland is functioning very well, also start with them. Just every time you think about it, just very lightly tap their thymus gland to keep it stimulated.
Wow.
So it's a lot.
I mean, and the fact that it impacts you emotionally, it impacts you physically, spiritually, and it seems like one of those little known facts, and it's such an impact in just your daily life. What you believe, even having the courage to do something different. You know, a lot of people who are facing fears. I know the this COVID pandemic and era that we're in has fed a lot of fear into people.
Of course, oh yeah.
You know, and it's also kept people separate from each other. And the very thing that we need for survival is interaction, love, companionship, touch, engagement.
And again, that's where you can introduce the thymus gland to keep it working, keep working at stimulating it. So fear is one of the worst things that we could ever deal with, because it literally destroys every layer of essence that we have, every single layer of essence that we have. So, you know, again, to use the different tools, as you mentioned before, is very important. So again, your music, your food, your baths, being in the water, which again, being in the water is the next, with salt, is the next closest thing literally to the womb.
Wow.
Literally the next
To the
closest
same
thing to the
fluid
womb.
that we were birthed in, right? Awesome. Awesome. So, okay, so tell us how do we use the products? Tell us about how you use the salts.
Well, that you just, now these are actually 8-ounce cans. I make different sizes, but this particular one happens to be an 8-ounce, and you really can just use like 1 or 2 handfuls and just put it in your water, swish it around to dissolve it, and you just submerge in it for like about 30 minutes. Is pretty much all that's necessary.
So, is it connected at all with how we use Epsom salt?
Yes, because it is a detoxifier, and again, because of the nutritional or nutrients that are in it, it's extremely nutrient dense. So it's supposed to be very, very good as far as detoxification also.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, one of my next questions is, this is about you personally, about your purpose and your passion. I mean, just the way that you speak to the bath salts, the colors, the chakras. I mean, you can tell that you're passionate about this. So, talk to us a little bit
Very
about
much
your
so.
passion and your purpose.
Oh gosh, it's a very extensive journey that I'm so thankful for. I've always, as far back as I can remember, have been absolutely fascinated with color. And I remember being very young, I won't say around what age, but back in those days, costume jewelry was very, very, very hot. And my mom used to wear a lot of jewelry, and it was always very colorful. And I remember always trying to bite or eat her jewelry. Same thing with her lipsticks. I would get in her room, and because the colors were so beautiful and vivid, that was like the only way that I knew as a child, was to just be able to be one with those colors. Always been fascinated with things like marbles, colored glass. Oh my gosh, the list goes on and on.
Right.
So that is like an introduction as far as the colors are concerned. But again, as you mentioned before, I do have a background in the health food industry for, gosh, maybe 15, 20 years or so. And just being in that environment, I actually fell in love with how the different herbs, was absolutely fascinated actually, about how the herbs and things like that interacted with the body. And it just literally opened up a whole new world for me. And literally my life changed since the day that I started working in the health food store.
Wow.
So, oh yeah, just absolutely amazing. So just a little short synopsis of that. Right after I started, I was introduced to a young lady that was supposed to take a trip. And she was going to something called the Gathering of the Cherokee Elders, which I actually ended up attending. But what was so amazing to me is that when we got there, it was on a lot of land, kind of like a campground, if you will. And I just happened to sit my tent down in this particular area. And these 2 ladies came up, and I was asking them for directions or whatnot. Come to find out, these 2 ladies were the 2 ladies that were responsible for taking care of the sacred herb garden that I just happened to sit my tent down
Wow.
right next to I didn't know. So I just found it to be fascinating that it was basically like confirmation to me that that was the direction that I was supposed to go into.
Yes.
So I've got like many other stories, but that was just just one of many.
So, Sheila, you're such an amazing and fascinating person yourself. I know you, and to have a wealth of information and knowledge on ways that we can look to nature to heal. We can look to some of the things that we already have that are already in our possession, already in our medicine cabinet. That's without the synthetic drug.
Exactly.
And I know people have to make those kinds of decisions, but to know that you have options. That's what we want to make sure that we expose everyone to. You have options. There are options for your health and your healing, and that come from nature herself. And so being able to take advantage of that is really important. So before we wrap up, I want to make sure that people have a way to connect with sensory soothers, Heal Us All, or you, Sheila. How do they do that?
Well, if you want to call it the parent company, that was the vision that was given to me first. So that's one of the main names that I use. And then Sensory Soothers basically is like a branch off from that I created later on down the line. But on Instagram, I do have an Instagram page which is called Heal Us All. And I will be revamping that very soon, but you can see the products on there. I offer more than what you see. I do have essential oils also, and several other products. But again, if you call me or go on the Instagram site, you'll be able to see more. And the number that you can reach me at is area code 947-333-1513.
Can you give that number one more time?
947 area code 333-1513.
Okay, so make sure if you're looking to take this next step in your journey, if you're looking to start a new chapter in your personal wellness and your family wellness and your community wellness, you can do that. It's just the next step. It's just the next step. And some of the ways that you can do it, you can you can contact Heal Us All Sensory Soothers, Sheila, who is the owner and the visionary behind it, and an artist herself. I know she neglected to mention that component, but she's amazing and actually designed some of the things that you may see in terms of her labels and some of the things that you might see in terms of the product. So just the visual inspiration that is there and possible, the possibilities are there. And so when you find your passion and when you find your purpose, please also make sure that you're sharing that gift, because gifts are meant to be given. And thank you, Sheila, for sharing yours. Thank you for the wealth of information and the enlightenment and the tools that we have for this level of our journey. We need more information. We need more insights, and we need more tools to have in our healing. And that's part of how we build community wellness. And I just want to thank our engineer, Patrick, who's consistent and making sure that everything runs well for us. Our executive producer, Sharon Dumas, Valerie from Detroit Native Sun News, who is our sponsor for Expose Under the Sun, and my co-host, Darren Griffin, who you'll see next week. I am just so excited about being here and being in at this day and this time to be able to share information about our community wellness. This is what we do. My name is Heather Hedharu. I am your personal change coach, and you can find me at yourinspiredjourney.com. That is my website. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook. And if you need to reach out to me, please feel free to do that at 313-759-7855. Again, that's 313-759-7855. If you're looking to advertise with Detroit Native Sun News or here on Expose Under the Sun, please reach out to Valerie at 313-457-5944. Again, 313-457-5944. We are here every Tuesday from 2:30 to 3 o'clock. Sheila, it's such a joy having you here. Thank you for what you've done and pulling all of the resources and tools together that you do, and continue to grow and your business be blessed. So thank you for being here. Thanks, everybody. I guess we will see you. I'll see you in 2 weeks, but tune in next week for Expose Under the Sun. So we thank you. See you soon.
Thank you.